Well, we are living in intense. So the tension is inside, intense. Oh, we could extend and relax. This is a very cool chapter from political philosophy, contemporary from Will Kimlicka. For Sue, right, I was writing on 190. Sorry, 6 years ago it was published. An ethnic of care. The word of connecting for this part of the month as we end a month and enter a new chapter. You will know why this chapter has closed, and you will know why a new chapter has entered. We all make this story together. Yeah? And we all belong to this connection. So we can transit together and not let others transit on top of us. So at the last paragraph of 279, so the idea that subjective hurts give rise to moral claims threatens both fairness and autonomy. Many care theorists recognize this problem and try to put limits on what others can legitimately expect of us. Some theorists say that caregivers should attend to their own need for autonomy, or that genuine caring involves some kind of reciprocity. In general, women who care for their family. When that genuine caring involves some kind of reciprocity. I want to also look at every man and their ability to care. Besides looking at people and humans, not just women, as objects, so that there are limits on how much others can expect of us without helping us in return. Will this man help each other? We can play about and make a verse for that. All right. And then just come back and talk like normal people do. In 19084, 238 Gilligan on 19082, 149 Noddings. I missed a chapter. So that there are limits on how much others can expect of us without helping us in return. Roderick. In these and other ways, care theories distance themselves from any simple equation of subjective hurt and moral claims. But how much autonomy can we claim for ourselves? And how much reciprocity can we demand from others without irresponsibility, neglecting the subjective hurt of others in line with their general methodology? Care theorists say that the conflict between autonomy and responsibility for others must be decided contextually, unlike one of Gilligan's male respondents who said that we should treat this conflict as a mathematical equation whose solution lies in a formula like 1/4 to the others and 3/4 to yourself. Gilligan, 1982, 35, 37. Care theorists say we should judge the appropriateness of any demand for autonomy or reciprocity on the grounds of what is reasonable to expect from the individual being cared for, along with what should be expected from such an individual, given the nature of the caring relationship at hand. Wilson, 19088, 20. Care theories, unlike justice theories, do not try to resolve these issues by developing a comprehensive system of abstract rules that runs rogue shot over the particularity of persons and their relationships. However, this is one of the places where abstraction is an important virtue. If our aim is to ensure that the free pursuit of one's projects is not entirely submerged by the requirements of ethical caring, then we do not simply need limits on our moral responsibilities. We need predictable limits. We need to know in advance what we can rely on and what we are responsible for. If we are to make long-term plans, it's good to have a sense of property and learn how to manage values for every human being. So we can evolve faster in synchronicity around the world, and everything that is being innovated can multiply in the world thanks of being transparent, looking at it. We will evolve to have more truthfulness without the need to lie, because we will become an obstacle for evolution. We can only take advantage of holidays if we can plan them, and that requires that we can determine now which interests we will be held responsible for later. And that in return requires that when deciding at that later date who is responsible for attending to others, we do not make a fully context sensitive decision. Eventually, it will all happen in a quantum because the analysis will be able to be scanned immediately as we pass on. But right now, we need to put up the data, check the stock of everything that we have, and create the laboratories to see where we send the minerals, to see the minerals we have. And we can all see this throughout the map. It will be easier to understand that we can understand each other through the same language and culture. So it is healthy to see the nations have their own boundaries with their economy, and at the same time in their collective culture and continent. Because some continents have more or less two or three cultures in there, if not more, like in the Americas. This will help to stop immigration as well. And for 15% of the young generation to travel and work in their mansion into a village and return to work and their studies. You don't need to be there all the time. When you have a low income, but you can keep the connection online and invest little by little. There will be thousands and thousands and thousands of people around the world that, after looking at the influencers, they will trust they can do it. The influencers mean everything to the world as we influence one another in our stories. And I copy your words and follow your actions as well, and your decisions who shape our story. And in this way, it won't matter if I walk 3 hours for food and come back in here. So you have a good sound. So my children have toys this week. I will walk those 3 hours with joy to go and eat with the homeless. It does not cost me anything because it's one of the most beautiful walks near the river with swans in a beautiful village that already has a castle. It's like a mansion into a village. It has the giggling of the village itself. And every culture can pick their own design, their own composition. And this needs a system of rules planning. Each group can do their own pick of their friends, people they like to work and learn from because they are available for these places. And it can happen simultaneously by itself. And at the same time, they must role play in virtual reality to become a bit crazy, let's say, because you have to get out of yourself. So you stop reasoning for yourself. And at the beginning, it's crazy. At the end, you become a mirror. You feel for others in their character from so much virtual reality within other characters. It gives you another form of intelligence throughout the storytelling and the mediations. So it's very important to have privacy when we have virtual reality. Is the most important rule. So the tissue of reality is not broken. And your imagination can fly like quantums of particles in the unknown to imagine and create so fast. So here continues. For example, when my vacation day comes up at work, we do not ask who is least needed in the office. We ask whose turn it is under the system of rules. The result might be that some people will suffer the frustration of desires that a more contextual decision making process will have fulfilled. Other people in the office really will be less missed. But if we want to be able to make genuine commitments to our projects, then our claims must be insulated to some extent from the contingent desires of those around us. Abstract rules provide some security in the face of the shifting desires of others. Of course, care theorists are right to say that some kinds of relationships must invoke different standards for balancing autonomy and responsibility. For example, we cannot expect children to have the same respect for autonomy and reciprocity as adults. I will return to this below. But for interactions between competent adults, an important way to reconcile responsibility and autonomy is to codify some of our responsibilities in advance of particular situations rather than determining them through constant assessment and reassessment of particular situations. Does this appear to abstract rules mean that justice ignores our distinct individuality? It is true that justice in this context does not require us to adjust our notion of what is reasonable to expect to the particular needs of those around us. Our rights and obligations in this context are fixed in advance by abstract rules, not by context sensitive assessment of the need of those around us. But this should not be seen as evidence of an insensitivity to those particular needs, or the net result of this abstraction from particular is to protect particularity more fully, that more our claims are dependent on context sensitive calculations of everyone's particular desires. The more vulnerable our personal projects are to the shifting desires of others, and so the less we will be able to make long term commitments. Meaningful autonomy requires predictability, and predictability requires some insulation from context sensitivity. This still leaves the possibility that some people will have strong desires that are frustrated by the application of abstract rules. But as we have seen, the justice ethic assumes that competent adults are of adjusting their ends in the light of public standards, assuming that the rules are publicly known, and confining our attention to competent adults for the moment. Then the people who will suffer from the application of abstract rules are those who, throughout extravagance or carelessness, have formed desires which cannot be met within their rightfully allotted means. There might be such people in any particular situation, and their suffering might receive less notice in a society that appeals to abstract rules rather than context sensitive assessments of particular needs. But this is their own responsibility, and it is unfair to us others to make sacrifices to spare them from their responsibility. The difficulty of staking our ground for personal autonomy within the care ethics is reminiscent of a similar problem within utili- utilitarians from utility, utilitarianism. In both cases, the moral agent faces a seemingly unlimited responsibility to act for the best in a casual framework formed to a considerable extent by the projects of others. The agent's decisions become a function of all the satisfactions which he can effect from where he is. And this means that the projects of others, to an indeterminately great extent, determine his decision, leaving little room for the independent pursuit of his own desires and convictions. This parallel should not be surprising, for while care theories reject the utilitarian commitment to maximization, both theories tend to ground moral claims in subjective hurt and happiness, rather than objective unfairness. As a result, both theories interpret concern for others primarily as a matter of responding to their already given needs. But we can only protect fairness and autonomy if we view concern for others not solely in terms of responding to a pre-existing preferences, but as something that should enter into the very formation of our preferences, rather than taking into account people's specific aims in deciding on chess distributions. People should take principles of justice into account in deciding on their aims and ambitions. As Rawls puts it, within the justice ethic, individuals are responsible for forming their aims and ambitions in the light of what they can reasonably expect. Those who fail to do so might suffer the frustration of strong desires, but people know that the weight of the claims is not given by the strength of intensity of their wants and desires. Thus, we shift from subjective hurt or happiness to objective unfairness as the basis for moral claims. We can now see the knell of truth underlying two previous contrasts between care and justice. According to Toronto, Justice emphasizes the learning of rules over the learning of moral sensitivities and the applying of abstract principles over the making of context sensitive assessments of particular needs. This debate over abstraction and context sensitivity in our moral capacities and moral reasoning is often presented as distinct from the debate over rights and responsibilities as the moral concepts. It is often viewed as an epistemological debate, as if justice theorists think that abstract principles are more objective or rational, whereas our theories whereas care theories reject notions of objectivity as epistemologically unsound. Jagar from 1983, 357, and Jung in 1987 at 60. I argued earlier that the entire contrast is overdrawn, since the source of abstraction involved in justice reasoning does not necessarily compete with context sensitivity. Moral sensitivity is required to be a good juror, but we can now see that even where justice is less context sensitive, the explanation is more moral, not epistemological. The reason why justice emphasizes learning and applying rules is that this is required for fairness and autonomy. If we are to have genuine autonomy, we must know in advance that our responsibilities are, and these assignments of responsibility must be insulated to some extent from context sensitive assessments of particular desires. As a result, some subjective hurts must be discounted. And if some subjective hurts do not give rise to moral claims, then people need to know in advance which these are, so that they can adjust their aims accordingly. For both these reasons, we need rules which are more abstract and less context sensitive. So any differences that do exist concerning the importance of context sensitivity in our moral capacities and moral reasoning are derived from more fundamental differences concerning the importance of fairness and personal responsibility as moral concepts. The first two contrasts are byproducts of the third. Love books. I've been in libraries, national libraries, finding beautiful people that talk to me. And I was very hungry to learn. I was thirsty. I've been surrounded by people from the underworlds of society. So here's where I would nourish myself, coming from a good education and having high social status and losing everything. I found comfort I didn't need a rich house or the latest car. I didn't need to dress in any way. I will have direct connection, and this will transport me. So it would take me to another state, to another place. And in silence, I will feel guided in the same way when I was a teenager learning from international therapists in my early 20s. Always kept this desire and pleasure to admire those who have been before us, giving us guidance. We might not be able to read everything, but we can meet each other through internet. The word of the week is connection. In the between the months, so it is Monday today, and it can be part of the next month as well, if you like. If you like to pick a word of the week that everybody will say, mention this word as the game, as the playfulness to know that you are also playing with us and we can also listen to your word. What is for you an important word for this month? So simply say it is an important, is a meaningful word for me. And I will be listening. I listen to all of you. I listen to all of you. And I am very grateful to do so. I can feel your commitment and your joke when you put your colors or your smile and stand up again, no matter the critic and the judgments, because we are all part of this human experiment. We're all part of this generation. You might not have found someone perhaps so loyal in a harem. So, well, it's very interesting. I guess my daughter Alice would love to read this book. Um, she might have a lot of fun traveling around the world, and we might get to see our children and their generation, right? When we have peace and we have all gathered together. So, the leaders of the world might lose their importance and they won't shine so much in the media as the influencers do. And the new influencers coming ahead, they will be like the stars of Hollywood. The problem is when people start mixing with fantasy from reality. Um, you cannot control people because they are creating their own stories. This is why we need privacy to be able to imagine as free without limitations, without anyone's critic. And there's nothing wrong with fantasy. We are creating a world that will have many more synonymous in the metaphysical realm as well, and in your own privacy. So, what words are for you so important that have to do with connection? All right. So, we're transiting through this connection, and it's going to last thousands of years. We are the pillars and structure. We are making it so it's transparent. Those who already have so much money will keep having money, will multiply their money. They will have more income as the nations with their percentage half of their own. All right. So, well, caring. I love to be with my mother, caring for her in her last years or months, hopefully years. So, well, here it argues the utility of maximization. People matter and matter equally. Therefore, each person's interests should be given equal weight. Therefore, morally right acts will maximize utility. All right? So, when people know how to relate and how to invest, how to especially appreciate what we have, it's looking at our stock. We clean it, we appreciate what we have, we take care of it, we take stock again. Every year we have to go through all the books and clean the covers so there is no mold or dust. Like that with the people you love. I gave you life with gratefulness. It's painful to not take care of your mother after everything she's giving you. So, my children, it's very hard to put one before the other. Um, my husband had a car accident, so it's very difficult when the mind doesn't work. Or maybe he truly is Jesus and was Jesus. I want him to live it in the past because we are right now in here. But he had it very present all the time. And I always trust in his reality as a writer and role player and respect his reality. I also try to move with the reality of our needs as a caregiver of a man who is not bringing money on income. So it is tough when you're still working and taking care of two babies and a man. So most of these prophets had prostitutes who supported them. Abraham's wife was a prostitute, to Jesus as well. But I have to take care as a woman So it's very common in men to take and not care about anyone and become a prophet, have their orgies in the Roman empires and empires of Persia with men and women, mostly men, as in the Roman Empire as well. It's very easy to put yourself first and only, but the pain is there because you're creating suffering. So we know when there is abundance and we trust in the people we trust. The problem with the old times of creating covenant, when the Jews put agreements with one, put and cast away another to put others together. So this has been tricks, military tricks, tricks to make kingdoms, to put people together because of a threat. Triangulating is called now. These are ways of the past. People still do that today, and people feel no equality because they are better. If somebody is strangulating another to put you in their group, so this will continue with certain people, and this normally exists on people that are on a second dimension, people that create wars and want to put another person or another culture or another town against, so they get more people together. It's a business, divide and conquer. We're moving from these forms of consciousness into third dimensions, coming out of ourselves and looking at the duality through the multiverse as well. I want to say thanks to Richard from Key Genies, who learned from Ra. Ra passed away in Ibiza, and he learned from him, and he continued his teachings and also created the genie keys. But it was Ra who had a download, and perhaps from the books he read from the genetics and the I Ching, and many who's been sharing from the unknown. He created a human design, a new form of astrology, but it has to do with the polarities from each gate, the polarities from the genetic pool. And every polarity that reflects the formation of our body, was our culture, or any form being. He talks about the neutrinos traveling through space in the moment we're born. So we have poets that are alive right now. I listen to them and I want to know more. I love watching and I also love to enjoy my life and share what this life is about. So I appreciate that you are bringing your best in for your interest and in the interest of others. And we all do what we love to do. So it is rightful that this is what we are doing. Okay, so The path to peace is built on two pillars: justice and security. As we are doing a massage in our heart from the last news, I want to thank you also for the beautiful drawings that I see on this channel. Beautiful drawings that make me feel so nice, so beautiful. So, well, this is so enigmatic to learn together. Um, all this is also going to help the tech titans to stop fighting each other with their viruses. You will learn everything they have done with the viruses in the realms of the law or the international laws, and how we can see the world together and the industry can invest themselves. Yeah, by looking at the worlds. So we can consume in other forms. So we all have our space and we will work harder if we want our children to go into outer space so they have their spaceship and they have grown with a good education, and we see that we can bring those materials together to create our homes, to clear the waters, to clean the oceans, to not live with thin walls. So at least if we can keep that dream alive, that true love exists. It's something that can happen non-stop. Okay, peace and cuts. It's up to you. All at the same time. So we will know how is the deal of every day. Bye. And thank you.